Boom. And we are live. How y'all doing this evening? Probably not as good as Larry Hoover. All right. Larry Hoover, the co-founder of the Gangster Disciples, just has his sentence, well, at least his federal sentence, commuted by President Donald Trump. Now, Trump can't do anything about Mr. Hoover's state sentence. Mr. Hoover still has a 200-year state sentence. Salute to serve. But they're trying to work that out, right? We're going to get into this once we get some people in here. Wesley, what up? Can't crack us? Can't crack us. Drop the link. Who is that? I send mines too. Can't crack us. We're gonna talk about Larry Hoover tonight. My Cash App is Gangish 5555. Yep. But dipshit already banned. What you doing tonight, Wesley? Waiting for some people to get in here. We got breaking news, man. Hoover has been a name in the gang scene since I was a little kid. Everybody knew who he was, and he's been in Supermax for close to 30 years. Let's talk about it. How you doing? Good to see you. But yeah, this guy's been in Supermax for damn near 30 years. I did 4 years in Supermax, and that shit, I still suffer the consequences of it. I can't imagine what he's gonna, the nonsense he's gonna go to, what his head's like. I don't know. It can't be good. That is torture, 23 and 1 for 30 years. No human contact for 30 years. It's wild. Good looking. Let's talk about it. Jimbo Slice. Is that who that is? Is that Jimbo? My computer just made a noise. Something just happened. Let's get into some of this. That's a troll, bro. Big Feezy, what up? Yeah, I had a feeling it might be. I can't see. I'm on this phone. As soon as I get what is this? Chrome exe application there. Chrome execute file. That's not good. Chrome stumbling. Having a rough day whenever Chrome's not doing good. Damn. There we go. That ain't Jimbo. So we're going to get into this. We're going to go to WGN News. I'm going to be over here reading. What is this? Page unresponsive. Wait. Yeah, my computer's acting up. I need to get a webcam. That's the next thing I need to get. I got my computer working, got the video editing working, I got damn near everything working. Let's see, I guess we're gonna have to exit that page. Except for I'm still recording on my phone. So I need to get a webcam. And now my computer's acting up for some reason. Oh snap, something went wrong while displaying the web page. Let's see if it's gonna do it for all of them. That's not good. Miss Dang, what up? Good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah, so let's see. We're going to be reading off the screen here, but that's all right. But pretty soon, I'll get the computer up and running. That's the next step, is getting the computer. Well, it's up and running fine, but getting it up and running to be able to stream on. And then once I can stream, I can share my screen, and I can do all that shit. And I can't tell. That's the thing, is I can't tell. Scante Warrior, what up? I can't tell. Scante. I love that name. I I can't tell who is trolls or not. I can't tell by the icons who are trolls or not. So bear with me on that. But here we go. This is from ABC 7 Eyewitness News. President Trump commutes sentence of Chicago gang founder Larry Hoover. President Donald Trump has commuted the sentence of a notorious former Chicago gang leader. Gangster Disciples founder Larry Hoover was serving a life sentence at a prison in Colorado. He was convicted of murder in Chicago and then later convicted on several federal charges. Hoover will still have to serve a sentence on all his state charges. Good to see you too, Miss Diane. Attorney Jennifer Bonjean, I don't know how to say that, confirmed to ABC 7 Wednesday that her client Hoover is being granted clemency by the president. The White House also confirmed to ABC News that the commutation of the federal sentence. A judge once called Hoover one of the most notorious criminals in Illinois history. But in recent years, his attorneys argued that Hoover, now in his mid-70s, had been rehabilitated. That argument apparently resonated with President Trump, who commuted Hoover's multiple federal life sentences. And it seems that Kanye West had something to do with this too. Kanye West sat down with President Trump and talked to him about the situation. You know, Dub's nipples are the size of a Domino's pizza pepperoni. You got the pepperoni nipples? Stupid. Hoover still faces the remainder of a 200-year state sentence for a 1973 Chicago murder. While in prison for that murder, federal prosecutors said Hoover, one of the founders of the Chicago Gangster Disciples, continued to oversee that gang. Prosecutors said he was an organizational genius and ordered murders, beatings, and drug deals while behind bars. He was convicted in 1997 and sentenced to 6 life sentences in connection with those federal charges. And the former lead prosecutor in his federal case, Ron Safer, told ABC 7 he's disappointed Hoover has received clemency. So not everybody's happy about this. Extra pet. I believe in redemption. I believe in rehabilitation. I believe in mercy. There are some crimes that are so heinous, so notorious, they are not deserving of mercy, Safer said. Come on now. You know what I mean? It's gang stuff. Gang stuff. Gangs kill each other. People die. It's unfortunate. It's not like, you know what I mean? There's plenty of more heinous crimes here, right? Hoover still faces the remainder of a hefty sentence on a state murder conviction. He would likely at some point be transferred to a prison in Illinois from the notorious Supermax prison in Colorado, where he's currently behind bars. So they're saying on the they're saying on the website, on the inmate locator website, that he's already been moved. He's already showing up as being in Illinois. They don't know if he's there or not yet. You know, but this guy has spent 30 years in the ADX Supermax out here with no human contact. You know what I mean? In the deepest, darkest dungeon, basically, that the United States has on its soil. Some people would argue that Guantanamo Bay is worse. But this guy went through a lot, you know? It's been rough. Extra pep. They're saying Dub is homeless and dressing as Bigfoot and robbing people. Stupid. That's a good one. Saying Dub is homeless. All right. ABC News. This is from ABC News. Trump commutes federal life sentence for Gangster Disciples founder Larry Hoover. President Donald Trump has commuted the federal life sentence of Larry Hoover, one of Chicago's most notorious gang leaders, according to his attorneys. Hoover, 74, the founder of the Gangster Disciples, has spent nearly 3 decades in solitary confinement at ADX Florence in Colorado, widely considered one of the most secure prisons in the world. Larry Hoover's federal life sentence had been commuted by President Donald Trump, Bonjean Law Group said in a statement to ABC News. Mr. Hoover, who is now 75 years old, spent nearly 30 years in solitary confinement at ADX Florence, the most restrictive, draconian Supermax prison in the United States. Now, there's always a question, right? Because Mr. Hoover has renounced, he been renounced his gang leadership, fellowship, whatever you want to call it, affiliation a while ago, and said, I'm preaching peace, trying to get out of prison. Now, here's the thing. He very well could be completely genuine in saying that he renounces his gang affiliation. But unfortunately, he's a figurehead. And there is a certain amount of the gangster disciples that will see him as King Hoover. That's it. You know what I mean? There's no way around that. They will still consider him to be King Hoover. He'll never be able to get away from that. Larry Hoover's federal life sentences have been commuted by President Donald Trump, Bongine Law Group said in a statement to ABC News. Mr. Hoover, who is now 75 years old, spent nearly 30 years in solitary confinement. Let's see, we already read that. Despite the commutation of his federal sentence, Hoover still faces a 200-year state sentence for the 1973 murder of William Pookie Young, a 19-year-old neighborhood drug dealer in Chicago. The federal charges, which resulted in 6 life terms in 1997, came decades after his conviction. The courts have demonstrated a complete unwillingness to consider Mr. Hoover's considerable growth and complete rehabilitation, Bongine Law Group stated. Despite the court's unwillingness to do the right thing, Mr. Hoover has been able to keep his voice alive through the incredible work of many advocates and supporters. Hoover's case has drawn significant attention from high-profile figures in the entertainment industry. In 2021, rappers Kanye West and Drake set aside their differences to perform at an Amazon-sponsored concert advocating for Hoover's release. The event, organized by Jay Prince, took place at the LA Memorial Coliseum. The cases remain controversial, as some claim he continues to control the gang from prison through intermediaries, while others argue he is unfairly targeted by law enforcement and that his rights have been violated. In the community, some view him as a Robin Hood figure who helped the neighborhood. His influence extends into pop culture, which references in popular music, including rappers Rick Ross' hit song BMF, where he draws parallels between himself and Hoover. Well, Rick Ross is a cop, not a drug dealer. He was never a drug dealer, and he was never part of BMF. So that's just part of pop culture, exactly what they said it is. Hoover is expected to be transferred from the notorious Supermax prison in Colorado to a prison in Illinois at some point. Thankfully, Mr. Hoover's pleas were heard by President Trump, who took action to deliver justice for Mr. Hoover. Bongine Law Group concluded, "We are thrilled to see that Mr. Hoover will be released from federal custody." And Trump's come through for some people. Think about that. That's Kodak Black. That's Lil Wayne. And now Larry Hoover, right? Trump, if you got somebody to get in his ear and talk to him and be like, "Hey, homie, dude's not really a bad guy. Maybe you could, you know what I mean? Maybe you could help out." Trump will help you out, man. Trump would do you a favor. Homie's a favor for a favor. You back him up, he back you up, right? Let's see. I like the live. Oh, thank you, brother. Good looking out. Yeah, please, everybody, as you come in, hit the like button. Hit that like button real quick. Like, share, subscribe. Do it for Larry Hoover. Do it for King Hoover, baby. Do it for Trump. Show love. Trump's showing love. We can show love too. Trump's helping a brother out. Let's be honest. Ryan, it's good to see you tonight. Man, I got so many videos in the pipe. I didn't even realize it. These are ones that I made months and months and months ago. I was just gathering footage, just recording footage and gathering footage and all kinds of stuff, even stuff that's a couple years old. That's good. You know what I mean? It just needs to be edited up, throw some music on it, stuff like that. I got a gang of videos that I did. I got a gang of shorts and all kinds of shit that I haven't even messed with at all. I got to dump them out there. Let's see. This is from the Chicago Sun-Times. Drug kingpin Larry Hoover's federal prison sentence commuted by Trump. Hoover and David Barksdale, Timmy, what up? Created the Gangster Disciples in the late 1960s, ruling as King Larry and King David until Barksdale was killed in 1974. Now, what I remember was King Hoover. I don't remember King Larry, but I guess that's what they called him back then. You know what I mean? He's a lot older than I am, right? He's already in his 70s, and he was already locked up by the time I was coming up. What's cracking, Timmy? Hit that like button. Hit that like button. Share the live. Show a brother some love like Trump. What y'all think of Trump? What y'all think of Trump? You know, the vast majority of the people that I hear talking about it, they like him. Man, Dirk gonna have to go do a little bit of time, homie. See, old King Hoover done did his time. Now you get to go home and go be a what's called for a while, but you get to go home and be free for a while. Maybe get to die a free man. You know what I mean? Maybe if they can get Illinois, and Illinois is pretty liberal. You know what I mean? He'll probably get out and get to go home and die a free man. Dirk still got some time to do, homie. They putting some what you calls it at Dirk's feet. You know what I mean? They putting some murders at Dirk's feet. Trump is a criminal. Damn, that bad, huh? Trump is my dad. Trump is my dad. Trump is a fool. Wesley says Trump is a fool. Trump is my dad. Like the homie Vince Goodrum says, y'all will MAGA rather than like it or not. You know what I mean? He's just trying to make the country great again, homie. You know, back when things were good. He's trying to bring back the good stuff. That's what you're supposed to do, right? That's what you're supposed to do as you move through life. Is you want to hold on to the stuff that's good, and you want to get rid of the stuff that don't work. You want to get rid of the stuff that's a flop. You know what I mean? Trump's just trying to bring back the stuff that works, and you know what I mean? Try to shake off some of the stuff that don't. Timmy Trump, 2030. Right? Yeah. I just want to make North Korea great again. You know what I mean? So that fool was up. You see Trump and Putin going back and forth. Could get pretty minty. We'll see what happens. It could. But I mean, here's the thing with Putin. Here's the thing with China as well. I'm going to go on a little rant here. I should clip this. So I'm just going to talk concisely here for a second. There is not another country on the planet that has the ability to wage war on the United States. It is incredibly hard to wage war across an ocean. And if anybody's noticed, we have oceans on both sides. East and the West Coast, we have Canada above us. Canada is not a threat, nor is Mexico, nor is Cuba, or any of the countries in our general vicinity. China has, I believe, 2 super carriers, something like that. We have somewhere around 20, I think. And Chinese super carriers, well, they're made by China, which doesn't always make the best stuff, right? And China is a very powerful regional power. They are a regional player, and they can protect their country very well. The anti-aerial denial systems that they have project hundreds of miles, I believe, out into the ocean, and they can destroy anything in that vicinity that they like. But that is an umbrella that protects their country. And it doesn't even protect the interior of the country. The interior of China is protected by the fact that it is so vast. It is incredibly, incredibly vast. And it would take, months to march an army across the interior of China. So it's just not a good look. But there is not another country on the planet that has the ability to wage war like us, that is a global superpower. Now, what Russia and China can do is blow up the world. They absolutely can. They can destroy the world. They could push a bunch of buttons. They could blow all of us up and destroy. They could destroy the world. They could destroy themselves in the process. So this is what Putin has the ability to do, and we've seen this. We've seen this in the inability to take Ukraine. I mean, they couldn't even take Ukraine, right? So now, don't get me wrong, there's been plenty of American interference in that situation, but they've proven completely incapable of even taking Ukraine. They do not stand a chance trying to. I don't even think they could wage war on Great Britain. They don't have the ability to get there. You know what I mean? They don't there's very few navies in the world that can wage war on the other side of the planet. It's just not a thing. They don't have the ability. You know what I mean? It takes a lot to push these super carriers around the planet and shit like that. So that's my little spiel on that. China nor Russia can fight a war with the United States, but they can blow the place up if they'd like to. But let's get back to Larry Hoover. So we're going to get back to this Chicago Sun-Times. Let's see. Larry Hoover took a big step towards freedom Wednesday, but he's not a free man. That's even after President Donald Trump commuted the life prison sentence of the 74-year-old co-founder of the Gangster Disciples, who's been held for decades in the so-called Supermax prison in Colorado. Hoover still has a state court murder sentence to serve. It's not even clear if Hoover will leave federal prison, but Trump ordered him to be released immediately. Only 8 months ago, a judge seemingly dashed a mercy bid by asking Hoover's attorneys how many murders is he responsible for. Now Hoover's supporters are celebrating, and his attorneys are pressing for Governor J.B. Pritzker to follow Trump's lead and commute Hoover's life sentence for murder in Illinois. The federal government has done its part. Hoover's attorney, Justin Moore, told the Chicago Sun-Times in a text message, "Now it's time for the state of Illinois to finish the job." Others seem to be left grappling for an explanation. Former federal prosecutor Ron Safer, who led the Gangster Disciple prosecution, told the Sun-Times that he did not understand why Hoover, among all people in federal custody, is worthy of this result. In a state that spawned Al Capone, I do not believe that there's a more notorious or prolific criminal than Larry Hoover. Well, that's another thing, you know what I mean? Think of all the stuff that they accused Al Capone of. They only gave Al Capone an 11-year sentence. You know what I mean? They gave this fool 200 years. Let's see. Otherwise, I can't FaceTime while on the shit. PMO about Larry Hoover's pardon. Everyone's signing and hating and dick writing and shit. What do you mean? Signing and hating? Oh no. But I mean, I'm happy for the man. I don't think he should have got 200 years, just because what, you know what I mean. That's the big thing, is influence. That's why they gave him 200 years, right? That's why they gave him 200 years, because of influence. It's not because of the murders. There's plenty of people that are responsible for all kinds of death, right? It's because of Sammy the Bull Gravano, right? They let him go. He didn't even do any time, right? Because he ratted. But a favor for a favor, yeah, probably. Singing, slang. Oh, okay. He, do I think that somebody should do a life sentence? Well, I mean, we deal with this, the gang that I was a part of, we deal with this. My big homie didn't even kill anybody. My big homie's doing 82 years in a day. They gave him 82 years in a day. And the reason that they give you 82 years in a day, or they give you 50 years in a day, or 60 years in a day, is because they're telling the parole board that they want you to do that day, right? And to do that day means you do not get parole. That's how they tell the parole board, don't let him out, right? As crazy as that is, that's literally how they do it here, right? Whenever they don't want you to give it out, they give you a day on top of your sentence, right? They gave him 82 years in a day for an attempted murder. It's an attempted murder of a police officer, right? But it's also a police officer that was found guilty of being crooked in 2006 and kicked off the force. It filed charges on him. He ended up being a crooked cop. So my big homie shot a crooked cop and is now he's been down for 30 years and they won't let him go. Now, is it because he shot the crooked cop? Not really. It's more because of the influence he holds, because they're scared of the influence, because they're scared if he gets to the street of the influence that he will have on the streets. So they continue to keep him locked up, even though he hasn't been in any trouble in years and years and years, right? It hasn't been a problem at all, right? Let's see, imagine if Trump was worried about what the majority wanted, like legalizing weed instead of stuff like this. You know, I have a theory on that. I don't think the federal government will ever legalize weed. And the reason why is this. Okay, so if I'm the federal government and I know that if I don't, much as they've done, they don't go into Colorado raiding people and taking their stuff or doing any of this, right? But they can. At any given point, the feds could march into Denver, raid all of these dispensaries, take all their weed, take all their money, seize their bank accounts, seize their houses, seize all of this stuff, right? Now they haven't, but they could, right? If I'm the federal government, that means I just have a possible piggy bank. Why would I mess with it? We'll just leave it alone. If we ever need it, we'll go take it, right? That's how I see legalized marijuana. That's how it's always seemed to me. If I was going to be, I mean, I know that's kind of a dire way to think, but that's what I think they're doing. Like, okay, fine. You guys store as much money as you want. Go buy houses and cars and put money in the bank and do all that stuff. Do all the stuff that you want to do. Fine. If we ever need that money, we're coming for it. And you guys are violating federal law. You're selling weed, which is against federal law. And so what you're going to do is you're going to give us all that money. You're going to forfeit all that money, or we're going to put you in prison. We're going to put you in federal prison for an extended period of time. That's what I think the federal government's doing. Now, will they ever come for it? I don't know. But if they need it, I think they will. Yeah, they're waiting for a rainy day to mass raid. They're waiting until they need the money. That's what I think. So why would I ever legalize marijuana? Right? I'm screwing myself out of a nest egg. All these whatchalls are building me a gigantic nest egg. All these dispensaries are building me a gigantic nest egg in every state that legalizes marijuana. They're building me a nest egg. Why would I screw that off? You know what I mean? I can just ignore it. And whenever I need it, I'll go tap it. I hit an ad if you said what Larry Hoover's got pardoned for. Have you heard from Vegas profiles? I have not. We talked about a week ago, but I haven't heard from him after that. Let's see. Larry Hoover's got pardoned for. Well, he got pardoned out of the feds, I believe, for running a ongoing criminal enterprise is what they gave him his federal sentence for. They gave him 6 life sentences for running an ongoing criminal enterprise. But he also has 200 years for a murder that happened in Illinois. A murder of, let's see. Hoover still has a state court. This is from the Chicago Sun-Times. Hoover still has a state court murder sentence to serve. It's not even clear if Hoover will leave federal prison, but Trump ordered him to be released immediately. Let's see. The federal government has done its part. Hoover's attorney, Justin Moore, told the Chicago Sun-Times, now it's time for the state of Illinois to finish the job. Others seem to be left grappling for an explanation. In a state that spawned Al Capone, I do not believe that there's a more notorious or prolific criminal than Larry Hoover. It is unclear whether an October 2018 meeting between Chicago rapper Kanye West and Trump in the Oval Office influenced the president's decision. But with more in the room, West encouraged the president to commute Hoover's sentence. Trump didn't seem to know who Hoover was. What did he do? Larry? What happened? Trump asked. Kanye told him, Larry Hoover is a living statue, explaining that Hoover is an example of a man that was turning his life around. Larry Hoover spent nearly 3 decades in solitary confinement under the harshest conditions this country has to offer, Moore said in a text Wednesday, and yet he emerged with clarity, humility, and a commitment to peace and transformation. Hoover's son, Larry Hoover Jr., posted on Instagram Wednesday, almost home, too short to hold a long conversation. Hoover and David Barksdale created the Gangster Disciples in the 1960s by merging 2 street gangs. They ruled as King Larry and King David until Barksdale was killed in 1974. Meanwhile, Hoover ordered the execution of William Pookie Young, whom Hoover suspected of stealing from Hoover's drug stash houses. Another gang member shot Young in the head 6 times and dumped his body in an alley February 26, 1973. Hoover was convicted of the murder after a trial in December of 73, and a judge sentenced him to 150 to 200 years in state prison. That didn't stop Hoover from running the gang, though. Though at its height in the early 1990s, prosecutors say the Gangster Disciples brought in about $100 million a year in drug sales under Hoover's leadership. Hoover was careful not to talk business during his jailhouse phone calls. So in 1993, authorities got a judge's permission to monitor conversation by placing transmitters and visitors' badges given to the gang leaders who would go to see Hoover in person. Eventually, Hoover was charged with 40 crimes, including engaging in a criminal enterprise, and the federal jury found him guilty of all charges May 9th, 1997. U.S. District Judge Larry Leinenweber, who died last year, handed Hoover the life prison sentence in 1998, telling Hoover that he had misused a gift from God. So that's what he's charged with. That's what he's been charged with. And so that stuff's been commuted, the ongoing criminal enterprise and the 40 charges. Now, the 150 to 200 years, that's a different story. Now, he's got 30 years in on that 150 to 200 years. I don't know. Does anybody happen to know how much time you do in Illinois? If you get 150 years, does anybody know how much time you do in Illinois? Like out here, if it's nonviolent, you do like 33% of your time. So on 150, you do 50. But if it's violent, you do more than that, right? And it's 100 on 150, you do 50, but you get earned time on that, right? So you would do like maybe like 38 on 150 if you were nonviolent out here, something like that. Does anybody have any idea what you do in Illinois? But then again, if you're violent, though, you do more of your sentence out here. So you would end up doing some time. On 150, you'd have to do probably 60, 65, something like that. Let's see. Back to the Chicago Sun-Times. The former gang leader then wound up in the Supermax. He remains there Wednesday, according to prison records. Others who have served life sentences there include Ted Kaczynski, the so-called Unabomber, Terry Nichols, the Oklahoma City bombing accomplice, and Joaquin El Chapo Guzman de Loera, the Sinaloa drug cartel kingpin. Try to say that 5 times fast. Drug cartel kingpin. Like, Hoover has been challenging his federal sentence for years under the First Step Act, a law Trump signed during his first term. Leinenweber handled some of those proceedings before his death, and he asked whether the state prison system could handle Hoover. State prison officials responded by calling Hoover a unique security challenge by speculating on the possible end of his prison sentence. Out of an abundance of caution and for the purpose of ensuring Mr. Hoover's personal safety, if released to the Illinois Department of Corrections, he will be housed outside of Illinois, they told the judge. In fact, Federal Bureau of Prisons has already agreed to house Mr. Hoover for the remainder of his state sentence if necessary. So he won't even be going back to the state. He won't be going back to Illinois. He'll be doing Illinois time, but they will house him somewhere else. That was in 2020. An Illinois Department of Corrections spokesman did not immediately respond to this Chicago Sun-Times inquiry on Wednesday. So he's not even going to be going back to go actually do his time in Illinois. He'll be going somewhere else in the feds. Yeah, that kind of sucks, huh? Get commuted and then go back. So what y'all think? Ankle monitor or worse? Ankle monitor does suck. Department of Government Efficiency. I've been on ankle monitor. I hated that thing. Why wouldn't Trump have just pardoned him when he pardoned Kodak Black and Lil Wayne? Well, I think he did, right? Are you saying why didn't he do it back then when he well, it looks like he didn't really know. He didn't know who he was. He wasn't quite sure who he was. Even whenever Kanye came to talk to him about it, he didn't know who Hoover was. Right? If you're not in the gang world, if you're not in the gang world or you don't investigate these types of things, people don't really know who King Hoover is. Right? I only knew who he was because I was a gang member, you know what I mean? And so you understood who, gangsters, powerful gangsters were. You hear people's names and things of this nature. Why now? Who knows why now? Who else is he going to pardon? Who else should he pardon? What do you think? Should he have pardoned him? What y'all think? Or should he have just let him rot? Because there's a lot of people like this. Colorado has taken, well, they started with the people, they said on Larry, on King Larry, they started with, Colorado started with the kids that had been, the kids that had committed murders before they were 18 years old. Colorado, as liberal as it is, they'll charge a kid with murder out here quick. They'll charge him as an adult. 15 years old, you go right to the joint. They don't give a damn. And so a lot of kids back in the day ended up with life sentences. And they decided a while back, whenever I was still in the joint, that they were going to start giving people play. And they're going to start giving people play. They're going to start, letting people see the board at least. If you got locked up as a kid, they were going to at least start letting you see the board. And that was kind of the first sign of it. That was kind of the first sign that they were going to start giving people play. And then ever since then, there's been a lot of people that were never really supposed to get out. I know a lot of the homies that were never supposed to get out. The homie Hogjaw was never supposed to get out. The homie Kiko Del Rio got out. I was one of the first kids that was facing 15, facing 48. Yeah. The homie from Trey 5 Outlaws, the homie TC, that fool, he got locked up at like 15 for a shooting. There was one of them GKI fools got locked up real young too. There was that fool Halloween. Halloween got locked up. He did a drive-by on Halloween Day, like 93, 94. He did a drive-by and accidentally killed a kid. He shot a kid in the head. And they gave him a life sentence. And there was a lot of kids that had been charged as adults. They didn't really hesitate charging people as adult back in the day. I ended up beating my case and got juvenile light, but spent 2 years in county fighting the case. Yeah, they were trying, homie. This state will charge kids as it's weird because the state in a lot of ways is very liberal. It's very, very liberal, but in a lot of ways it's not. A lot of ways it's not at all. But Anyway, that's about all there is. I just thought I thought that was relevant. You know what I mean? It's gang. We gotta talk about King Hoover, homie. King Hoover. They letting King Hoover out. You know what I mean? Never went to prison. Thank good. Yeah. King Hoover was very influential dude, and he will continue if they let him out, whether he wants it or not. He will continue to be a very influential man, and he might be, like, I hate to say this, but might do some good for Chicago. You know what I mean? It might be some good for Chicago, because a lot of the Chicago sets, the little Chicago gangs, they do say that, part of the problems is that there's no big homies. They locked up all the big homies from the GDs and the vicelords and these different sets of Mickey Cobras and shit like that. They locked up all of their big homies. So these fools are out there with no big homies. And so it's just war. They just go to war. There's nobody, where whenever you got big homies can shut shit down. They got enough respect to, what I mean? They can call the other big homie, who maybe it may be a vicelord big homie, and the GD big homie knows him because they've been banging with each other for 20 or 30 years, but they got that common respect. They know that motherfucker's about his business. I could call him up and say, hey, homie, you know what I mean? Let's figure out how to fucking smooth this over so, you know what I mean, we can stop the bullshit. There's none of that left. Sam Mine from Watson. Good looking, my homie, good looking. Yeah, the man himself is going home. I'm happy for him, man. 74 years young. It's about time, It's about time. Anyway, my friends, I'm probably going to call it a night. Getting tired of my damn self. I got another interview tomorrow. I got this job just bullshitted me, man. They bullshitted me for like a week, cost me like a week, kept saying they're going to hire me, saying they're going to hire me, saying they're going to hire me. This is bullshit. You know what I mean? People bullshit me, but that's all right though. I've been working my ass off. Well, I've been having a problem too since I got out because I didn't have didn't have an ID. I still don't have an ID, but I have an appointment for my ID. It takes like a month to get an ID here, because you got to make an appointment for the DMV and it's like a month out. But I got an appointment on the 3rd to go get my ID, and so I've been trying to get a job with just an old picture of my ID, and a picture of my Social Security card, and there's been some challenges. But hopefully I'll be working. Hopefully I'll get this job tomorrow. That'd be tight. Wonder why Trump's doing this. Doubt it plays well for his fan base. The boomer calm part of his base anyway. Nah, I think it'd be all right. I don't think they really care about stuff like this. I mean, if I'm not excusing anything that Hoover did or the GDs did or anything like that, but if you know anything about history, black people got the short end of the stick for a long time, and it's not really a surprise that a bunch of gangs showed up, right? A bunch of gangs showed up, a bunch of murder, a bunch of poverty. You know what I mean? And then they all throughout, especially through Chicago and Illinois. Illinois was one of the states hit hardest by welfare, by the inception of the welfare state in the 1960s. They imagine going around and telling a bunch of young women, young black women, a lot of young black women, hey, you need some money for food and, your rent and stuff like that. Yeah, we got that. We got that covered. Just make sure there's no men in the house. You can't have a man around here, right? Can't have a man around. I can't have my children's father here. So you'll give me money as long as my children's father isn't here, right? Jeez, wonder what happens whenever, you know what I mean? If you've ever been in the street, what happens whenever a young man doesn't have a place to call home, whenever you're out ripping and running in the streets and you don't even have a place? It's not good, dog. Whenever, it's hard enough out there whenever you're ripping and running, and then you got, you go home to your spot and you can at least sleep on the couch or, you know what I mean, shower up or, try to get your life together, right? Whether we're able to or not, at least you try. You know what I mean? Go home base, and try to get your life together. Imagine not even having that. Your baby's mom says, "No, homie, you can't be here, or they won't pay my rent no more." You know what I mean? What's this do to a generation of young men? You know, I wonder why they created gangs. Wonder why. Anyway, thank you, Timmy. I do hope I get the job. And they used to give you a paper one here, but you don't even get the what you call. You don't even get the appointment, right? And you do get the paper one. Whenever I go in a couple days on a 3rd, they'll give me the paper one, and then they'll mail me one in the mail. So I'll have a paper one for like 2 weeks, and then I'll get one in the mail. But to even get into the DMV, it takes like a month, right? It took almost a month. I got out on the 9th, made an appointment right away, and I'm not even going to be in until the 3rd. That's how long it takes to get a fucking ID here. So anyway, my friends, have a good night. God bless Mr. Hoover. Congratulations on his newfound freedom, at least from the feds, right? It's not real freedom yet, but at least from the feds. Later, my friends. I'll see y'all tomorrow or the next day or something like that. Later.